I can tell you. It's crazy. It is crazy.
We appreciate it.
I tried to make myself look presentable. That's a tough go.
You look good.
We appreciate it.
Oh, no, believe me, it's not a guilt trip. I'm happy to do it. I would like to do the program more than once. So if I had my druthers, it would be my profession. Which is hard to do when you have 0 sponsors.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're doing now, oh my God, I've got 3 minutes. Okay, what we're doing now, and what I'm going to need to really focus on very quickly, is that we're going to be, I'm sharing. I can't do that. Oh, well, yeah, I can do that. No, I guess I can't because I'm not allowed to post in it. Okay.
Hey, Day, I'll let you jump in and do what you need to do in case you get dropped off.
Okay, that sounds good.
So I am, come on. There we go. Looks like I know what I'm doing. Okay. We're sharing around now. This is a painful process. We are live. There might be some folks watching. This is what we call the pre-show, kids. This is where Jeff gets to share the link to the program one by one by one by one, because heaven forbid that the fantastic programmers at Facebook would give you the ability to program a share to all button and just build a list. Come on. There we go. And of course, it's very slow tonight. So I am honored that my guests are being exceptionally patient, because they're being a hell of a lot more patient than me right now. I can tell you that. As we fight with the technology, as we tend to do. What we are doing right now, of course, if anyone is in the room watching, we are sharing to our national media outlets ever so painfully slowly. And then we will go to our groups here predominantly, but not exclusively, in the Commonwealth. And then we will press play on Hot 101 really, really soon, we hope. And then we will be live around the globe. No pressure, ladies. Live around the globe. Come on. Let's try using the stylus to see if it works with me a little better. Goodness gracious. Come on, kids. Okay, I need to use the stylus for some reason. That's right, you heard him. The old guy's using a stylus. Yep. They're using some early 2000s technologies, kids. Using a stylus. Okay, back to groups. Back there. Okay, share to a group. Okay, this is going to get quick now. If you can hear those little chimes, each one of those represents a group that we are sending this live video to. If I do add this night, everyone, not just my guests, but anybody who's listening, if I add this particular night as a second night, it's going to be later in the night. I managed to make myself a drink. And that was about it. And no, sadly, folks, it's not even that kind of drink. It's not even an adult beverage. It's a very fun mixture of lemon, ginger ale, and water. Well, straight soda is really not good for you, and water bores me to absolute tears. So
Yeah,
I've managed to find a soda that I can mix with, so I can have a little flavor and a little sweet, and still a little water. Getting there. I don't know if you can hear those chimes, those little dings.
Yep, I hear 'em.
That's a different group. Every individual is a different group that we are sharing to. The time I'm done, and oh, by the way, if you go to our homepage, I realize Day can't, she's traveling. But if you go to our homepage, find the video of this, just like you would any other video anywhere else, and you can share it from there.
Okay.
I encourage you to do so. And you should turn the volume all the way down and swipe for comments. And okay, we are a little late, so we are going to be live in 3, 2, 1. We hope. Looks like the 101 feed is giving me an issue. Sorry, ladies.
It's okay.
No worries.
I'm fighting it here. Having radio issues. Stop. You know, I turned the volume down on you. Shush. Hang in there.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. But it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
Kennedy.
Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who'll bring the job a fresh new point of view. Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. 'Cause it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy. And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you. And it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair?
We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and a change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you. Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. My phone is still talking to me because even though I silenced it, it needs to be heard. Welcome, welcome, welcome from my humble second bedroom in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, on this planet Earth, the only one we have. Third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is a very special live episode of The Kennedy Effect coming to you midweek. It is Wednesday, November the 10th, and this is a very special live episode of The Kennedy Effect. If you are a regular at our Facebook page, That Other Side of Information, you will know that quite a while ago, it might even be, oh goodness, it might even be 2 months ago now already, I conducted a poll to see what would be a second type night that you would want to hear the program. And overwhelmingly, you came back with Wednesday. Well, I didn't do any Wednesdays because I didn't have a reason to. Nobody wanted to be here. Well, guess what? I found guests. The old guy found some guests. The radio guy found some guests for his show. So here we are, a very special episode of the program. I want to welcome you all. I will get to introduce my guests in just a moment, but first, let's do the business end of the program, shall we? You are listening to a special live episode of The Kennedy Effect for the 10th of November, 2021. It feels like spring still outside. And after the show, don't do it before, do it after the show. Go outside, look up. There's a very special, really, really pretty, striking Terran solar system alignment right now of Jupiter, Saturn, and the moon. Venus was up earlier. You missed it. It's down below the horizon already. But go outside, look up. It's a very mind-bending experience. It makes you feel very small. It puts a lot of things back into perspective, wherever you might be watching across the Facebook universe. And we have shared the program, I will try to tell you very quickly, to 91 places. 91 places that we have shared the program tonight, wherever you might be across that Facebook universe, wherever you might be watching, listening, having dinner, getting the kids ready for school tomorrow. Please feel free to stay right there. However, if you would like to join the live chat that is literally happening right now as we speak, please come to our home group Facebook page called That Other Side of Information. You will see the show right there in the timeline. Tap on it, click on it, whatever, depending on the device you're using. It will expand out and you will see the chat. And you can join us right there. To our sisters, brothers, friends, family at hot101.net, who actually made a bit of they made way for us tonight. Let's put it that way. I was going to use a very fancy word, but then my brain shut down and I couldn't think of a very fancy word. They kind of made way for us tonight, cleared the stream so that we could be on with you tonight around the globe. Our listeners to hot101.net in Australia, New Zealand, across the African continent, dotted across the Western European continent, in Central and South America, and in Canada, and of course, all across the United States. Thank you for being here. However it is that you take in hot101.net on a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, a phone, a smart speaker, we are just glad that you do. If you do not know how to listen to hot101.net, it is extremely easy. Our name is our web address. It is hot101.net. You can also find the apps for hot101.net. Yes, apps, plural. The Apple App Store, the Google Play Store for Android, and for any device, the TuneIn radio app. And of course, please join me in what is now my favorite game from behind the microphone to say really loudly, "Hey, Alexa, play hot101.net. I have yet to have anybody tell me that they have triggered their Alexa yet, but I really hope it happens. I'm very much trying to trigger your Alexa. I want Alexa to turn on spontaneously in the background because after all, we know she's always listening. So we thank you all for being here. And of course, TCP, the Cultured Professional from Lancaster, thank you for allowing us all onto your airwaves and into your speakers yet again. We will be opening the phone line later in the program. But why are we doing a special program? Well, because somebody was nice enough to actually come on my air. So we're doing this special program. I actually don't even know how long we're going to be with you tonight. We might end at 8, might end at 8:30, might end at 9. We'll see how the conversation goes. But there's an extremely important, a very socially conscious a very community, a very neighborhood, so to speak, neighborhood in the greater sense, the human neighborhood event that is happening not too far from where I am, about an hour and a half north, in the city of Scranton, Pennsylvania, on Saturday, November the 13th from 11 a.m. Eastern Time on the City Hall steps, if I'm not mistaken. The PA Trans Youth Rally will be happening. And to tell us all about the event, we have two guests. One who's traveling, and I'm not going to let her live it down, so she's not even on the camera. She's dialed in. I'm going to make her pay for that the entire show. But in alphabetical order, and on your screen, if you're watching with us on Facebook, is Janelle Kayla Crossley, and via phone. It is via phone. Yeah, because I see your phone. Yes. I'm losing my brain. It's not is Day Pope, who's actually doing two things at one time, supporting the rally and supporting public transportation all at the same time, because there's not enough political activity that you can do. You're doing two things at one time. And we welcome them to the program to join us and to talk about the rally. Not even just talk about the rally, and they're going to get a little surprised by me because we didn't have a chance to really do a lot of this ahead of time. But I'm hoping that even after we can, we'll obviously talk about the rally that's happening, but also just some of the greater issues, struggles, rewards surrounding our trans brothers and sisters, and not in the strict term, but our trans brothers and sisters are human brothers and sisters. This is a human issue to me. I find discrimination of any kind to be mystifying, because that we've dedicated quite a few shows to the issue of race. However, we know that scientifically there is no race. There is one human family. And Janelle and Day are part of that human family, but yet they are simply not treated the same. So I'm hoping that we can discuss a little bit, branch out a little more, and discuss the whole, all the issues that surround being a trans person in this country, especially at this time. But before we get into the deeper stuff, let me have the guests introduce themselves, tell me about themselves, or tell you about themselves. I already know. I cheated. I talked to them ahead of time, so I know about them. But tell us about the rally and so on. So Janelle, let me start with you. Who is Janelle Kayla Crossley, and how did you get here?
Hi, well, thank you, Jeff. I am Janelle Kayla Crossley, and I live in Newville, Pennsylvania. And about 13 years ago, when I transitioned, I decided that I wanted to be an advocate for gender identity. So I promised myself that I'd become an advocate for gender identity in central Pennsylvania and the surrounding areas. And I have done that ever since 13 years ago, my transition at age 51. I began my advocacy going after the haters and the bigots, like American Family Association, Alliance Defending Freedom, Westboro Baptist Church.
I was hoping they were going to be in your list.
Yeah, I've worked with the Amish community. I helped an Amish person transition and remain in the community with their family and the church. So I went out and I wanted to be visible, and I wanted to do whatever I could do to prevent something from happening to my brothers and sisters that may have happened to me in my journey. My advocacy extended into more of bullying and harassment of kids in school. And I also extended it just recently, about 2 years ago, in helping children and their families, especially in the system. I'm a liaison that works with Children Youth Services of Cumberland, Perry County, and also CASA. And when they have an issue with somebody that may be in the gender spectrum, or they have an idea, they call me, and then I go out and try to help them out. So my advocacy was the big thing. The other thing that my advocacy drew me into was politics. In 2020, I ran for Pennsylvania State Representative in the 199th District of Cumberland County, PA. The incumbent that I ran against is the prime sponsor of a bill that was introduced into legislation to ban trans kids from playing sports in school. That hit me in the heart. And I knew deep down inside of me that I needed to fight this. And I want to fight it to the end. And that's what created the PA Coalition for Trans Youth. I teamed up with my co-founder, Day, and we created the organization. We have many members that are part of it. We are going to be going across the not the United States, but the state of Pennsylvania, supporting our trans kids and our families that are being attacked by the hate, bigotry, rhetoric, and discrimination of our legislation and also society as well. So that's pretty much my background right now.
So then let
Yay.
me bring in our half guest because she's on the phone traveling. I'm gonna pick on you something terrible the whole night.
I know. You're gonna really put me through it.
What's sad, I was gonna get to this, but what's sad is I won't be able to actually meet you ladies because my much better half, I don't know what she sees in this guy, but I'm very lucky. That's all I know. My much better half, Kristen, will be there with you. I will be here hosting an event for our Revolution PA. I wonder why they picked me to host. I don't really talk much. I'm actually quite shy. I wonder why I'm hosting another event, but so I won't even get a chance to meet you, but I hope that, I hope your travels will bring you down into the Lehigh Valley at some point, especially at Christmas. There's nothing more beautiful than the city of Bethlehem, the Christmas city at Christmas. So Day Pope, please introduce yourself and tell me, Day, who is Day Pope and how did you get here?
Thank you, Jeff, so much for having us. Thank you, Janelle, for everything you already shared. Janelle is a rock star. Like you did mention just a couple times, I am in transit right now. So if I mysteriously disappear, lose service, keep calm and carry on. Janelle has got this. But I've been a trans advocate and a gender justice advocate for several years now, nationally and in the state of Pennsylvania. Right now I'm working with TAKE, a trans-led organization, and the PA Coalition for Trans Youth, like Janelle mentioned. And, I was a gender nonconforming kid growing up and had to deal with that experience. And so this is really coming from the heart of just wanting to make sure that all kids in school can go to school and be safe and, get a good education without dealing with discrimination. And that's really what all of this is about. I think it's a really kind of scary, strange time in general, with the pandemic, with the political situation in this country. Over 30,000 Pennsylvanians have lost their lives to COVID. We've lost over 1 million jobs in the state of Pennsylvania. And you would think that would kind of kick the legislators in gear, so to speak, to maybe be working on healing our economy or keeping us, safe and healthy. But unfortunately, instead, they're trying to distract us by attacking vulnerable trans and queer kids. And I just want to say also, just a quick note, if we can say, trans siblings instead of brothers and sisters, just to be totally inclusive of non-binary folks, I think that would be great. But I'm so excited that, we're able to talk about this rally. I'm so touched that we're able to have this rally. I just really want it to be the first of many conversations we're having with parents and teachers and students, young people, neighbors, with everyone across the state about what's really at stake here and why we need to have more of a focus on equal education that protects all students, including trans students.
Let me just throw, well, first off, you can try to teach this old dog some new tricks. I will try to make sure I use the right language. This is, the brain isn't firing. but I understand your point. I one of the reasons I was looking forward to doing this tonight is I knew that I was going to learn something, and I am always happy to learn things that I do not know. And there is a lot about this that I probably do not know. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I also have to say, Janelle, I've seen over what would be your right shoulder, I think through the office doors there, a very, very lovely puppy who's occasionally sticking her, trying to wonder why he or she can't get into the room. And boy, if they make it in, I'm gonna be thrilled. I'm gonna be thrilled to see. I love when the animals show up on when the furry family members show up on camera. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Because I know mine have shown up on camera, and usually my female cat, who is about 1,000 years old, occasionally will come up here and just scream at me because I'm not down in my chair providing a lap, as I guess is what my job is to be in this world, is to provide her a warm lap. So we'll see the puppy later, but let me just throw a kind of an open, well, first off, before we get into that, because I want you to talk about it and give the dates and information several times while we're here. Tell us about what's happening on Saturday.
Yeah, so I can start, and Janelle, definitely jump in if you want to add anything. But this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., that's November 13th, we're meeting at Scranton City Hall, which is at 340 North Washington Avenue in Scranton, to have a rally to support trans youth. And so we're going to have a number of speakers, including Deja Lynn Alvarez, an amazing trans Latina candidate who's running for the state legislature in Philadelphia. We're going to have several other speakers that are going to be really meaningful. And really the whole point is to share love, to spread awareness, to show how many people in the community support trans kids and really aren't here for all of the hate that's facing trans kids. And I think just two really quick things that a lot of people aren't aware of. Here in Pennsylvania, conversion therapy, which isn't recognized, by the way, by any health authority as an actual legitimate form of therapy, but conversion therapy is still legal in the state of Pennsylvania. So youth can be forced into, abusive situations where where people are using dubious psychology to try to convince them that they're not queer or trans, if their parents, force them to do so. And the second thing is that legislators are right now trying to pass similar bills that have been passed in Texas and in Arkansas, with nearly identical language, by the way, that was written by think tanks outside of Pennsylvania. They're trying to pass legislation, as Janelle mentioned earlier, to keep trans kids from participating fully in school activities, including sports, so to actually establish trans kids as a second class within our schools. So those two things are sort of happening, and they're under the radar, probably because there's so much going on with the pandemic and everything else that we're all dealing with. And so the rally is our moment to spread to our neighbors, to parents, to youth themselves, to media, the true information about what's going on, the fact that trans youth are under attack, and to spread messages of love. So again, that's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Scranton City Hall in Scranton, Pennsylvania, this Saturday, November 13th. And if anyone also is not in the area or just has plans on Saturday, we would love to keep you informed about the campaign, because this is definitely not the last you'll hear of us. So if you want to sign up to get updates about the campaign, but you can't actually physically make it, maybe like yourself, Jeff, you can go to bit.ly/educationpa, all lowercase. That's bit.ly/educationpa, and we will update you about our future events. But Janelle, do you want to talk a little bit more about what we're up to and who's going to speak?
Yeah, there's a couple things I'd like to add that the coalition is actually designed to do. And the main things were, like they said, some of those. And also visibility, awareness, and education is what we want to bring to society. Not only society, but legislation as well. there's so many people out there that never met or never even saw or even talked to a trans person before. The trans people in the community are stereotyped into what they, I don't know how I want to say it, what the people see on TV and on the
You're
internet.
like a preconceived notion, or like
Yeah.
a definition that's been put upon you, perhaps.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So, you know, this is the reason for the coalition, one of the reasons as well, that we want to be out there to show the community and anybody else that is watching or listening that there's people out here that care about our kids and their families. There's people out here that care about the adults. It's not only just about the kids and the families, it's about adults as well. We're all under attack. We're in a war right now, and we're trying to fight this war. And the only way to win a war is to build an army. And the PA Coalition for Trans Youth is doing just that. We are building an army, and we are going to win this war. You know, we're going to bring equality to Pennsylvania. We're not going to let Pennsylvania legislation or government tell us that we can't rent a house, that we have to lose our job, that we can be fired from a job just for being who we are. You know, this is wrong, and it's been wrong for many, many years. And it's about time that there's a group of people that could get together, which is the PA Coalition for Trans Youth, that are not going to be silent. There's too much silence going on. I'm a firm believer, and if you want anything resolved, you have to keep it visible and you have to keep it heard. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. Just as an example, the BLM and also the gun violence, gun reform, things like that, that you don't hear anything about it until there's a tragedy. Then you hear about it for about 2 or 3 weeks and then it goes away. This is not going to happen with us. We're not going anywhere. We're actually going to get stronger. We're going to get louder, and we're going to be heard. Whether it takes us to the Capitol, whether it takes us anywhere, you know, we're going to be there. So that's about all I have to add right now.
Let me throw a question out. Well, let me do this. It's just shy of 7:30. So let me reset the program as we do at the top and bottom of every hour. You are watching and listening to a special live episode of The Kennedy Effect for Wednesday. I don't get to say that much because I almost said Sunday. Even though my brain was planning what to say, it almost went in a completely different direction. This is a special live episode. It is Wednesday, November the 10th, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. It's so dark outside. And you are watching and listening to The Kennedy Effect. If you are wherever you are across our 90 plus places where the show has been shared this week, or to this week. Today, I usually say this week on Sundays. See, I got myself all screwed up. I'm in a rut. I'm in a normal flexing muscles that only bend one way. I need to wake up in here. It's on Wednesday. Wherever you might be watching this evening, across the Facebook universe, you can stay right where you are and continue to listen and watch and hopefully enjoy and learn from the program. However, if you would like to come to our home group Facebook page, that other side of information, you can join and be a part of the live chat. I see the live number watching is hovering around a little bit, but you can enter your comments and questions and be part of the program. You can agree with me, disagree, yell, kick, scream, throw flowers, ask questions of the guests, ask questions of me. Anything that you might want to do, you can do it right now in the chat section. That other side of information on Facebook, our family at hot101.net, the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, the TuneIn Radio app for all other devices, and of course, Alexa can play hot101.net, and I strongly, strongly encourage you to do so. It is a wonderful, wonderful place to get music, and the family of hosts and DJs across hot101.net were extremely kind today. I think I may have actually very begrudgingly bumped somebody out of their time, even though I made it very, very plain that if somebody was going to be on, they should stay, but they cleared the stream for me. So we are live around the globe through one of the very originators, one of the very first global internet radio stations, hot101.net, and of course, our friends and family at TCP, The Cultured Professional. Ladies, I'd like to ask you a question that is awkward, perhaps. I hope not, but I think, I could certainly understand where it might be. It doesn't, whichever one of you wishes to answer. But Day, when you were speaking, you mentioned they a lot, the quote unquote they. Who are they?
That's a great question. I mean, I think I'm referring to conservative politicians, to conservative hate groups, basically groups of people who are really trying right now to stir up misinformation and lies and confusion around trans kids, to get their voters fired up, to get their donors fired up, people who have a vested interest in, scapegoating this small, vulnerable community in order to reach their cynical political goals. And it's happening here in Pennsylvania, but it's also a coordinated national strategy of conservatives around the country, where over 38 states have seen anti-trans legislation introduced that attacks trans youth in the last year. Almost all of these bills have identical language, so somebody was creating this language and disseminating this language. We actually did some research, and it's unfortunately really hard with Citizens United and other, decisions and the current state of U.S. politics to actually trace some of this money and where exactly it's coming from. But there was actually no Pennsylvanian youth at a recent hearing at the Pennsylvania legislature speaking out against trans kids. It was someone flown in from Texas who doesn't even live in Pennsylvania, trying to convince our legislature to pass anti-trans legislation in schools, acting like they were a Pennsylvanian kid. So there's some kind of, I'm not confident to say exact group names, but you can look up bill co-sponsors, and there's also what the Southern Poverty Law Center would consider hate groups who are coordinating, who are paying for this very orchestrated attack on trans youth across the majority of the states in our country. So that's really what I'm talking about, is conservative legislators and whatever think tanks and shady kind of dark money groups are behind them during this push.
Very often, regular listeners and viewers of the program will know, and a couple of our regulars are actually here. They caught us on this special night. I see Randall in there right now, actually, and others. I don't want to ignore everybody else that's in there, but it's good to see the regulars. Will know that I spend a lot of time on this program speaking about kitchen table economics. I always find these I'm going to risk trying to marginalize you and the issues that surround you, but I think you're going to understand where I'm going in just a sec. I do think that the issues that surround you are a tactic. They're a wedge. They're a distraction. They're the shiny object. The 20 richest people in the country could pay for the infrastructure bill and still have money left over. The 400 richest people on the planet have as much wealth as the bottom 4 billion. The 3 richest people in the United States have as much wealth as the bottom 200 million in a nation of only 330 million. I believe that the issues that you have to deal with, and again, please don't misunderstand me, I'm not marginalizing any of them. I do think to an extent they're the shiny object. They're the distraction. Just like God, guns, gays, and abortion. Here, stare at this while we pay effectively no taxes whatsoever and continue to strip wealth from you. The income taxes alone just the income taxes on the top 1% since the Reagan era, since the imposition of the Reagan era, total over $40 trillion. All 83% of all the new wealth created in this country since the imposition of Reaganism have gone to the top 1%. All of the new wealth created in this country since the year 2000, since George W. Bush took office, has gone to the top 1%. And the bottom 99 has actually lost $1 trillion in wealth. I have a feeling that what surrounds you, and you have to suffer it. So again, I want to be clear that I'm not marginalizing it. I think it's a distraction from the fact that the 99% are having their wealth extracted from them, and very, very purposefully extracted from them. Is there any way for either of you to describe how it feels to be a voodoo doll of sorts, to just be a convenient punching bag, a convenient distraction when all you're trying to do is live your life, when the real issue is that we're all being stolen from?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Day.
Well, I just want to say, I think what you're saying is right. I mean, that's a cynical way that conservatives are using trans issues. Trans people are working class too, and we're actually some of the people that make up a higher percentage of people in poverty than we should demographically, based on the fact that we're such a small group. So it's both a distraction, and all those issues you just talked about impact us deeply and, in fact, disproportionately. But I think that what's important to kind of bring us back around to is that what seems like an issue that affects a very small number of people, a very small number of kids, it's estimated that maybe 1% of Americans are trans or non-binary. Which again sort of puts into perspective how comical it is to think that we're a threat to society, or that, we're a threat to youth sports. But beyond that, I think these issues aren't just about us, about this small group of people. It's about the fact that our schools are becoming politicized and becoming a battleground of the culture wars, and that students in general are going to be not feeling safe and welcome at school, that schools' gender roles are actually going to be more policed than ever before. So I think it's also an issue of principle. But Janelle, I would love to hear, sorry for cutting in, what you were about to say.
No, that's fine. I agree with everything that they just said. And to add to that, about the kids going to school and feel comfortable with themselves and being who they are, they can't do that now. They're picked apart. They're segregated from the bathrooms of who they gender identify as. They have doors closed on them as far as competing in any kind of activities within the school. Me dealing with bullying and harassment of kids in school, I see a lot of this. And the first thing that I get from the school district is, this doesn't happen in our district. Okay, if it doesn't happen, then why am I here? So as far as being, like Jeff said, a voodoo doll, many, many, many people in our community are kind of like voodoo dolls, where hate is wished upon them. Discrimination is thrown at them daily. They can't walk out of their house without being discriminated against by a neighbor, or somebody drives by and throws stuff at them or shoots them or whatever. It's terrible. And going to your job, it's terrifying coming out at your job, because you're afraid that, number one, you're going to be attacked, beat up, or whatever. Plus, there's a big chance you could be terminated from your job just for being who you are.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, is still legal here in the Commonwealth.
That's correct.
It's perfectly legal for you, Janelle, or you, Day, to approach your your boss, supervisor, et cetera, And if you were a faculty member somewhere, the administration, whatever it might be, if they were to, I don't want to say find out who you are, you're standing right in front of them, but I think you understand what I'm getting at. They could just fire you because they feel like it, essentially.
Yeah, and it's not just just your job. It's almost everything you do in your life.
Adoption, banking,
Yeah.
rights and privileges of a quote unquote traditional marriage, the property sharing, mortgages,
Right.
health insurance coverage, right on down the line. Now, I don't need to answer your question for you. You obviously live this every day, but I'm just trying to illustrate for folks how some of the very basic, simple things that we're talking about, folks on the surface might think to themselves, well, what can't you do that the rest of us can't do? There's a hell of a lot you can't do.
Yeah, that's
and
correct.
It's legal.
Oh yeah, it's legal. We have no protection in Pennsylvania. The states around us have protection. We're lagging way behind for whatever reason. I don't know. But I'm hoping that what we're trying to do, bringing visibility, awareness, and education to society and legislation, that we can put a push on the Fairness Act or the Equality Act, and everybody could be equal. We're all human beings. You said this before earlier. We're all human beings. We walk the same earth. We breathe the same air. We do the same things. Just because we're trans does not mean that we can't perform our job and our duties like we have before we transition. It makes no sense.
Let me ask you a very and again, either of you. I mean, on past episodes, we've had as many as 10 people in the room, so I can't just open to the floor. But it truly makes no difference to me who decides to answer. But let me ask you a very mundane and on the surface, what would seem like a very silly question. You are human beings, I take it, correct?
Correct.
And that's exactly the point, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was just saying. We need to be treated as anybody else. We're human beings. When I look at somebody, I don't see color. I do not see nationality. I do not see whether they're gay or lesbian or trans or non-binary. I don't see that. I see a human being. And I can't understand and get it and in my thick skull that why people have to be the way they are and not see somebody as a human being, somebody put on this earth to work together with everybody else as a one. I just, it's hard for me to comprehend this. And the older I get and the further along in my journey that I get, the worse it becomes.
No one is older than me. Let me just be clear about that. No one on earth is older than me. So I mean, if you could feel the pain in this body from a day-to-day basis, there's nobody older than me. Let me ask what again would seem like a very obvious question, and quite possibly not the smartest question. It would seem to me, and we know that this happens because we see it every day. We see it with folks of color. We see it with folks who have taken the brave step to immigrate to this country. We sometimes even see it between union and non-union, between the new guy at work and the old established guys. The new doctor who has a new way of looking at certain things as opposed to the old grizzled veteran who only knows how to sew a wound one way. If this can happen to you, who can't it happen to? That's
a good question. My answer to that question is it can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't think it can't happen to anybody. Anything can happen to anybody. With the world and society the way it is today, and especially over the past 4 years, at least 5 years, I've seen everything go downhill as far as respect. There is no respect anymore. And that comes into play with being who you are as well. You want to be respected for who you are, so you need to respect everybody else for who they are. Respect is a very powerful word in my vocabulary, and I preach it a lot. And without the respect, you're going to have issues. I mean, just look at, people don't have respect for authority anymore. Our police and our people in leadership, there is no respect for nobody, and that all falls back into our category as well. Not only just the trans community, but the LGBTQ community, and people of color, and so on and so forth, ethnicities. There's no respect for any people anymore. Let's bring that back. Let's treat people as a who, not a what. People.
If I could just say too, I think, Jeff, what you're getting at, and what I think is really true, is that, if we set a precedent that it's okay for conservatives to meddle in schools in such a way that violates human rights, that violates the rights of our kids, that forces some kids to not be able to participate fully in school, and actually ostracizes children, setting a precedent that they can do that for other categories of people that they deem, not worthy, or that they deem not who they want to encourage to develop their full selves and their full lives. And I think that's why this battle over the schools is such a resonant one for so many people, because if you think about being 6 years old, you're going to school and you just want to, remember your homework and get to see your friends at lunch, and you want to learn, and you want to do well, and you want to prepare for your future. That's really what our schools are supposed to be. They're supposed to be, whether or not they've always lived up to this ideal is another thing, but they're supposed to be a place where every student gets a chance to learn and to connect and to develop their talents and to be safe and cared for and protected. And unfortunately, what's happening is that extreme conservative politicians and extremist groups are trying to make trans kids unsafe at school. And we've seen that this in places like Texas, like Arkansas, where bills that, other and discriminating against trans kids are passed, trans youth risk of suicide and self-harm goes way up. And trans youth, LGBTQ youth already have such a higher risk of self-harm and suicide because they're dealing with the bigotry from peers, misunderstandings from other people. And so what we're talking about really fundamentally is a mental health crisis for our youth, and is the lives of trans and LGBTQ more broadly youth being at stake. And so I just want to bring us back to that, because I think it's easy for people to get lost in the weeds of all the different arguments about youth sports, or to get caught up in trying to understand all the terminology or this or that, and they think that they have to win an argument. And what I really want to say is that it's okay for people to not completely understand, as long as they understand the fundamental, which is that school is supposed to be a safe and equal place for every student, and trans young people's lives are at stake. And so that's what's important right now, is just keeping people safe.
Do you get the sense, I would have made a lousy lawyer because so many of my questions are leading questions. But I do want to try to speak to some specific thoughts. Do you get the sense, because I get the sense, and I think this is actually a thought that's being particularly exploited when it comes to our human family of immigrants to this country, that if they are gaining something, they must be taking it from me rather than all of us gaining something. Is it your experience, or have you had to suffer that, or do you, that's not the right wording. Is it your sense that that surrounds you as well? That if you are gaining not new rights, not special rights, not special classifications, but simply the same day-to-day rights that all the rest of us already have, that you must be taking something from someone else? And is that quite possibly, certainly not justified, but is that quite possibly where some of the vitriol comes from?
Yeah, I think I'm glad you brought that up, because we hear that a lot. When we go out and we ask for equal rights, okay, well, give them their rights to use the bathroom they gender identify as. You're taking the rights away from our cis people, which is wrong. And it goes on and on and on from there. And I found out through my years of advocacy that the majority of these people that are acting the way they are and treating people the way they are, they harbor insecurities and fears of the unknown within themselves. They don't know. Just like Day just said, a lot of people don't know, and it's okay not to know. But on the other side of the coin, you got to learn. You got to learn. People are set in their ways. People are raised a certain way. I know when I was a young kid, I was raised that, gays were bad. You stay away from them; they're going to hurt you.
It was classified as a mental disorder up until the 60s, 70s.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the way we grew up. And look what happened, throughout our life and things like that. I come out to my dad. My mom already passed away when I transitioned, but I came out to my dad, and he just looked at me for a minute and he says, that explains a lot, but yeah, I mean, we hear that all the time, and we're not trying, and we are not taking rights away from anybody else. We're just asking for the same protections that everybody else has. We want to be able to go to work and go to work as who we are without being terminated. We want to be able to walk outside our home and walk down the street without being attacked and beat up and sent to the hospital, maybe even dead. And your average cis person doesn't feel these things, and they're not attacked by these things. So it's kind of hard to, I guess, relate in a way. But I was a very lucky individual where I didn't endure all of that stuff. And I do not tolerate it, and I will not tolerate it. But yeah, to answer your question, we get it a lot. I don't know if they can elaborate on that some too.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, I think that honestly, the way that I personally feel is that most people, even some of the parents who are concerned, in fact, about trans kids in schools, aren't bad people. They're not hateful people. I think that they have been lied to and they have been reached with misinformation. I think there's a lot of overlap between people who are concerned about so-called critical race theory and some of these other, social issues, wedge issues, whatever you would like to call them, where a lot of people really are well-meaning, and they care about their kids, and they care about schools, and they care about education, and they think they're doing the right thing. And I want to just name that I don't want to paint them with broad strokes and say that they're bad people, but I think this is why hateful campaigns like this one that's being led across our country by these extremists and conservatives are so damaging, because they're reaching well-meaning, everyday people, parents who are concerned about their kids' safety and education like any guardian or parent would be. And they're sharing these horrible, messages, this misinformation, these outright lies that are telling them that girls' sports are in danger, or their kids are in danger, and it's such a clear moment of really propaganda. But I want to just name, I think that if anyone is listening, or if anyone attends a rally and they didn't know what to think about this issue at first, or about trans people at first, that I understand, and it's okay, right? But it doesn't make people bad people, but they have been, victims really of misinformation and outright lies. And so just to say really quickly about this piece, to kind of debunk some of the biggest things that people think about trans kids in school, just because it's coming up for me right now. Trans kids, again, make up probably 1% of kids in school, so they're not dominating anything about school, let alone athletics. There's zero evidence that any trans youth have any kind of advantage athletically over their peers who are not trans. Trans kids are statistically way more likely to be the survivor, the victim of an assault, than to be the perpetrator in a school setting. And trans kids, again, and LGBTQ kids, suffer disproportionately from harassment, from abuse, from discrimination, and from self-harm and suicidal ideation from having to deal with all of that hatred and discrimination day in and day out. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, right? I think that those well-meaning parents, teachers, people in the community are being duped really by conservative politicians, by these extremist think tanks and their messaging. And we need to come back to the table and say, look, like, these kids are vibrant and they're beautiful and they're important parts of the community, but they're at risk right now. Like, their mental health, their well-being, their physical health in school is at risk. And now, and that's the case, but now they're also having to deal with the fact that there's all of these angry, well-connected, well-funded adults and organizations that are trying to make them into the boogeyman. And that's making life even harder for them. So if people are just tuning in, that's why we're having our rally this Saturday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Scranton City Hall here in Pennsylvania. We're going to have amazing speakers, but the main thing is that we want to combat all of this misinformation. We want to share messages of love, and we want to show trans kids, their families, and also the other youth that aren't trans, that we're out here and that we support these kids. Because when you actually talk to most young people, this is kind of the other thing. When you actually talk to most young people who even aren't trans, Gen Z is not Gen Z is not up in arms about their trans peers. Like, this generation is open-minded and gets it, and more people in Gen Z actually identify as LGBTQ than any generation previously. And so this is really something that these conservative extremist adults are creating. It's a solution in search of a problem. It's a distraction. It's a harmful, invention, really. And we want to bring it back to, these are lies. This is misinformation. The kids are all right. We need to protect trans kids. Schools should not be a place for all of this politics and these culture wars. Let's get back to just teaching kids, letting them have fun with their friends, and not discriminating.
I'd like to read you a question that was put up in the chat. I always try to get to everything in the chat that is applicable. I try to get to everything in the chat, but especially when it's applicable. And it's actually a new listener and viewer, and someone that I believe will end up being a guest on the program going forward. We haven't set a date yet. We're just dancing around it so far. We only just made contact today. I'm very grateful that she's here and listening for the first time. Someone that we're going to have, when she appears on the program, it's going to be fireworks, but it's going to be respectful, and I'm looking forward to it a great deal. Ashley asks, wait, let me interpret that because it's a little, folks, if you think public schools are not serving the trans community well, are you a proponent of school choice, providing these kids and families the option to access an educational environment that might better fit their unique passions and aptitudes, I will open the floor for whichever of you would like to take that.
I personally don't feel that it is a safe move to remove a child and put them into a different setting.
I'm guessing we're referring to, and I swear I'm only guessing. And Ashley, if you can add to the chat, please, and clarify for me, because I don't want to put words in your mouth or speak for you. I'm guessing a little bit that we're talking about cyber charter schools, etc. Do you feel that's an option for trans kids, or is it? I mean, they have the right to choose it just as much as anybody else does, but is that a better option? Is it a good option? Is it an option that you advocate for in the same way that you do the standard public school? I think that's what she's trying to get to, so I don't want to put words in her mouth. That's rude of me to do.
Yeah. I think it would be more on a case by case basis. I'm kind of, I guess you can maybe call it old school, that I believe that a child should be in a classroom with other kids to learn how to socialize, and once they learn how to socialize, they can actually live in society. I know for a fact, I have a grandson and he has Asperger's, and he was pulled out of school because of being bullied and harassed. And he is on cyber school, and he's been on cyber school now for about 5-6 years. And his social skills are nothing. He doesn't know how to act when he goes out to eat. He doesn't know how to act when he goes out to, meet kids. So he stays in his room all the time. And that's where he lives. So, I think socialization is a huge, huge part of being who you are. And if you can,
And Janelle, doesn't that go both ways? Because not only your grandson and his lack of socialization, but doesn't it go both ways? If he's in a classroom, the other students in that classroom get to learn about him as well. So that
Exactly.
learning and that development and that goes in both directions.
Yep, absolutely. I agree with you. And I was going to get to that, but you beat me to it.
Well, I took a little host privilege there. I jumped on you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, it does work both ways. And it's just kind of like what we're doing with the coalition. We're going out, we're trying to educate people. We're trying to get them to understand. And that's the same with leaving your child in a classroom. Now, on the other side of the coin, if you do everything that you possibly can to have your child remain in that classroom and remain in with the socialization of the other students, and it's not working, and it's detrimental to the child's health or wealth or health and welfare, and also the grades, because if their grades drop, you get picked on and stuff in school and you don't want to be there, your grades are going to drop, your attendance is going to go down, your socialization, like I said, is going to go away. So then, maybe, yeah, it is okay to do that. And like in my grandson's case, it was okay to do that. But now I think I'm not the parent, but if it was my child, the kid would be back in school.
Thank you for the question, Ashley. I think that for some parents and kids, that might be a good option, but I think either way, it's important that we make sure that all of our schools, our public schools, our charter schools, any schools, but really we're focused on public education right now, are safe places for trans youth, because they shouldn't have to be, banished to other school settings. They should be able to participate fully and equally in public schools. And then if they still prefer other options, then they can make other choices. But I don't want that to be sidestepping the issue that either way, we're still going to need to make our public schools a safe, healthy environment for all students, including trans kids.
Exactly. And I don't, I think that the students should not be forced to not be able to go to school. And, that's one of the things that we're doing too, with especially me with the bullying, harassment of kids in school. we're trying to have it that they can remain in the classroom, do whatever we need to do to hold the other ones accountable for what the wrongdoing that they're doing. So I think for the most part that, like they said, it's an educational thing that needs to be done. The schools need to be more open to education on this issue. They need to be able to realize that they need to sit down and they need to talk to people, that's going through this, that's lived it. And, hopefully we can get to that point where we can begin doing that. And, here again, that's part of the coalition's vision to eventually have events and stuff where we can educate and people can attend. And have a panel discussion, ask questions. That's how people learn, by asking questions. And somebody could stand up in front of an audience and run out their mouth for 2 hours, and not one person in that audience will learn anything. But if you have somebody up there that talks a little bit, and then the next thing you know, you get a lot of people asking questions, a lot of people are going to learn. So
8:07 Eastern Standard Time. You are watching a special live edition of the Kennedy Effect for Wednesday, November the 10th. I remembered this time that it was Wednesday. It only took me an extra 40 minutes to remember that it's actually Wednesday and not our typical Sunday. If you are new to the program because it is Wednesday, our regular air time is Sundays from 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have never seen the program, if you'd like to learn more about the program, if you missed any of tonight's program, probably tomorrow or within the next day or two, our technical producer, George Dare, will take this video and convert it, and you can find all of our past episodes on what has become our library, our repository for all things the Kennedy Effect, and that is our YouTube channel, which is also titled the same as our Facebook page, That Other Side of Information. We are on Instagram at That Other Side of Information, Patreon, That Other Side of Information. Do you see a pattern developing here? You can find me on LinkedIn. Just look for Jeff Kennedy. You can find me on Facebook at Jeff Kennedy. A better place is the Facebook group, however. But I think the important thing is that if you missed any of this, or if you want to learn about our program, if you're new to the program, because again, we're on a brand new time here. I think we've only done we've done a handful of special episodes through the years. We did some, after following the nominating conventions for the presidential races and some significant news events and so on. But if you're new to us here on this Wednesday evening, go to our YouTube channel called That Other Side of Information. That's where you'll find every single recorded episode of our program ever. And coming up in April of 2022 will be our whopping 2-year anniversary, because what's a better thing to do in the midst of a pandemic than start a radio show? Because it'll just prove to you that I have no business sense whatsoever. Why not start a radio show right in the middle of a pandemic? So if you've missed any of it, that's the place to go. Please know also that even though you might be watching the program on our home group Facebook page, our Facebook page doesn't shut down. We are there 24/7. It's a great place to find the articles that I post there. It is, I can't exactly say it's a news site. I'm not a journalist. I don't do investigative journalism, but we do visit a myriad of different media outlets and pull out and place there some really interesting articles, and they're not all politics. A lot of environmental issues and articles, science articles, especially astronomy. I happen to be an astronomy bug, and if you were here at the beginning of the program, I told you to go outside and look at the alignment that's happening right now, and a lot of animal advocacy. I think our animal problems, abuse of our furry family members doesn't stop until we change the classification something other than property. But we can talk about that on a different show. But I hope you'll visit the home group Facebook page for the program, That Other Side of Information. Become a member there as well. Our goal is to break 1,000 members for the program by the end of the calendar year. So you are on notice. Be warned. I'm asking you to join the Facebook group. There is another question. Yes, go ahead.
before you go there, I just want to let you know that I got to leave at 8:30 because I got to be at my job by 9. So
Well, I believe you should tell your job you're busy.
well, I tried that already. I
Tell my
work with,
job you're busy, darn it.
I work with the homeless. I stay overnight with the homeless and
Oh my. Well, that's a show in and of itself. The
It
unsheltered
is.
population. I mean, a population that largely didn't exist up until the 80s. I'd love to talk to you at some point in the future, perhaps, about what Finland has done for the unsheltered population. I'm sure you're familiar. Literally did a simple T chart. Here's all the empty homes we have, and here's how much we spend. And then on this side, here's how many unsheltered we have, and here's what we spend on them, and figured out that if they just took the unsheltered population, gave them a home, partnered with tradespeople to rehab that home, they would teach the unsheltered a skill that is in short supply in Finland, by the way, and they would eliminate not just the unsheltered population, but also eliminate the abandoned property problem in Finland. And there now is, for all intent and purpose, no effective unsheltered population in Finland. Goodness gracious, you would think a nation as wink, 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 great as ours could do something similar, but you know why we don't? Because those properties are still there to have money made on them, and I think that's probably the end of it. Well, then I think that's probably a good place. We can wrap up then around 8:30. I'm actually late for another meeting because, you know, if I'm not on Zoom, I don't know what to do with myself. There was another question here. It's kind of getting hashed out in the chat. I'm having a bit of issue trying to sort out what Andrew is trying to ask you. Let me try to sort this. I think Andrew is asking, I think Andrew, I'm really afraid of mischaracterizing your question. Ladies, if you're watching on Facebook on a separate screen, well, I know Day's still in transit, but you'll see Andrew's comments. Perhaps we can get to the comments after the show is over. I'm just having a difficulty trying to understand. Schools with issues are the ones fighting. Okay. Do you find that the inequity in education for trans kids, is it ubiquitous? Is it spread through all schools, or are we talking largely rural schools in red counties? Are we talking the same thing in inner cities? I'm a little bit kind of paraphrasing what Andrew's trying to ask. And Andrew, please feel free to give me a shout if I'm getting that incorrect. As he mentions that schools with issues are the ones that are fighting mask mandates. They have showed who they are. Trans students, Black and brown students experience similar issues as they go unaddressed. Do you think that this is boy, that's going to be a bad way to ask the question, and I don't know how to ask it another way. Is this just a trans issue? Is it an inequity issue? Is it a lack of school supports and continuing training and education for staff? Or is it just a simple divide us all into tiny little groups and make us all hate each other issue? Is it all of the above? I hope you understand the thrust of my question.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Day.
I think I do understand, and thank you, Andrew, for asking the question. This is unfortunately a question that, you know, the answer is this is a problem across the board. It's not just in rural areas. It's in cities. It's not just in quote unquote red counties. It's in blue counties. It's not just about training teachers. It's about the broader culture still being discriminatory and bigoted towards trans folks and trans youth. It's about this hateful campaign from, you know, the conservative extremists. And it's related to some of these other issues where, you know, students of color, students who are, you know, not white, cishet kids can often be discriminated against, can be otherized, can struggle in school because they're not being, kept safe and made sure that they have equity and equality in their educational experience. So I do think that being said, like, there are some places, some schools that have it, have a better environment than others, but there's not a lot of standardization. There's not a lot of clear guidance from state governments or from the federal government on how to actually make sure that schools are an equitable and safe place, at least not guidance that is known, training that is available, all of those things. So it does fluctuate, but I don't think it's as clear cut as blue schools or city schools are better always than rural or quote unquote red schools. I think we have a lot of work to do, especially in the state of Pennsylvania, where they're trying to pass this law to ban trans kids from student activities, including sports, to actually make sure that all of our schools are protected, because right now they're not.
Yeah, I agree with you, Day, 100%. And I can say this too, and it's not just only like in high school or middle school. This is from grades K through 12.
I want to read, first off, I'd love to have you back at some point, because I think 8:30 might be a good time for us to drop off, since you have to go anyway. Janelle, and I'm going to speak to your boss, by the way. I'm not happy about that, so I'm going to speak to that boss. This is
717.
my ego and my program is much more important. So I will, and then Day, of course, just has not taken enough abuse from me for only being on the phone. But we will fix that. I do hope to have you back though at some point in the future. Perhaps probably into next year, because the one thing I do think, and I'm sure that you do this a lot, so I don't think I would be asking too much of you, but I do think not the one way, but a one way. I really need to watch my language tonight. I'm not getting my thoughts clear. Is that I'd like to have you both back at some point just to talk about your own personal journey here. And because I think, and I'm sure you've told your own personal stories, thousands of times, but it would seem to me, and I guess it's kind of a half question, that when you have the opportunity to sit in front of folks, or in this case, speak to my audience and just tell them your own story, whether it's a round circle of chairs that you kind of meeting that I'm sure you two have both been to probably 1,000 times in your life, or whether it's, the formal podium up on stage in front of in an auditorium or a venue like this. I'm sure this isn't the only program you guys have been on, that when you have the opportunity to convey your own personal story, the journey that you've taken, do you find that folks who either for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, or maybe innocently don't understand you and your journey, that they gain something from that they gain an understanding, that they gain a compassion, a connection? I don't know if it's the ones that stand outside the schools with signs and protect our bathrooms and all that fun stuff, but do you find that those stories, when you have the opportunity to tell those stories, that you reach folks in a way and help them understand that, kind of the way we started the program, you're just human beings?
Yeah, let me answer that if I can. My answer to that is absolutely. I've been doing this for quite a number of years, and I speak in colleges and universities and schools and businesses to educate and bring awareness and visibility to these people. And I can honestly tell you that you can learn so much more by hearing somebody's story that actually lived it and is currently living it than you can by doing any kind of research on the internet, or any kind of research anywhere. You can learn more from somebody's true story. I've told my story many, many, many times. In fact, I just did it again this morning. And there's people don't understand and can't get what we actually do endure. And it's not only for the equality part of it, it's other things that we endure, neglect of our families, things like that. Our friends, we lose our friends, things like that when you come out, because people think you deceived them, you lied to them, so, they don't want nothing to do with you. But telling our story is, I think, one of the best ways that we can get through to a lot of people. And I found that, especially like in schools when I'm working with kids that are bullied, once I start telling a story, whether it's my story or another true story that I experienced, people seem to want to grasp that, because they're thinking, oh, wow, look, a real human being is telling us, what they went through, and one of the biggest things is the questions that I get asked is, why did I choose to be who I am? I'm sorry, it's not a choice. Why would anybody choose to live the life that we do? Why would anybody?
I was going to say that, and I didn't know if that was appropriate to say, but I think it seems to me to be such an obvious thing. Why would you seek out, as if you were somehow in the middle of some type of department store and you just, well, I could be that, I could be that, I could be that. Let me pick the hardest thing, or at least one of them, if not the hardest. Let me see if I could pick the hardest, one of the most socially outcast groups of folks. Let me choose that because I'm just bored. That's no more to say than, people would argue with this.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I have a tremendous amount of spine damage. I used to go to the gym 5 days a week, 2, 3, 4 hours at a clip. I can't do any of it anymore. I now have this big pregnant looking gut. Kristen and I are hoping to welcome a child. I'm hoping it's a child because I can't seem to get rid of the damn gut any other way. Why would I choose to do that when I could be healthier? It seems like such a common sense thing to me. But yeah, I would hope, and again, it would seem like a common sense thing that when you're, again, if it's that little circle of chairs or even a high school auditorium, that I'm just a human being.
Yeah, and what I usually tell people is that, and I've done this myself, when I'm asked, why did I choose to be who I am? I just look at them straight in the eye. I just say, well, why did you choose who you are? They can't answer that question. They don't
have this preconceived notion that anything other than the norm, air quotes, is a choice. Yep. I didn't choose to be a super pasty white Irish guy. I just am one.
Yeah, exactly. You are who you are.
I embrace my family history, and I embrace my Irishness. And as far as the paleness, that just isn't going to go away. This is almost the absence of color, let alone a color. But it is who I am. I'm not going to be anything. This is who I am.
Exactly, and that's what people need to realize. They need to be who they are. Don't worry about anybody else. Be you. How much happier of a life can you have if you are living you? I didn't live as me for 51 years. I hid all those years. And once I came out and started doing what I'm doing, it's just unbelievable. And I just feel like I've been this way all my life.
Dan, I want to ask you one more question before I read something to the two of you, and I'd like you to react to it, and then we're going to wrap up right around 8:30. It's 8:25 right now.
Okay.
We did sort of mention this a little earlier in the program, but I'd like you to restate it if you could. What is it exactly that you are asking for? Because especially when I have folks of color on the program, and I have a lot of folks of color on the program, and one of the oddest reactions I'll get is when at least virtually, look them in the face and say, what the hell do you want? And then I answer the question for them, which is nothing other than what you have. We don't want something more. We don't want something special. We don't want a whole new set of rights that drop down out of the sky off of an asteroid from Mars. We just want the same thing. And I may have answered the question for you, Day, and I apologize if I have, but could you just speak to the fact that you're not asking for anything special? Just the same respect and dignity an equality that the rest of us have?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely, hit the nail on the head. I think what we're really asking for is the chance to live full, healthy, safe lives and to get the chance to thrive. I think everyone has the right to live and to have their needs met and to get a chance to make their mark on the world and get a chance to thrive. And especially for our kids, especially for the youth, we really want them to be safe. We really want them to be able to have a good, school experience without being traumatized, without being bullied, without being tokenized, without being discriminated against. Just getting a chance to go to school and just be a kid and have fun and learn and connect with their peers and not be the scapegoat of some political culture war. That's really all we want. We want, everyone to get a chance to learn, everyone to get a chance to be safe and healthy, everyone to get a chance to thrive.
I want to read a poem to you before I let you go, and especially you, Janelle. If we get a minute or two past 8:30, I'm not going to freak out about it. But it's just, I know that you have to run. But I want to read a poem and get both of your reactions before we wrap up. And I'm sure you've both heard it 1,000 times before. It's the poem by Reverend Niemiller that he wrote in I want to say it was 44. I could be wrong about that. In the World War II era. I'm sure you've both heard it before, but I'd like to read it anyway because I think it's applicable to what we're discussing. Or if it's not, you can correct me and tell me that too. First, they came for the communists, but I was not a communist, so I said nothing. Then they came for the Social Democrats, but I was not a Social Democrat, so I did nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists, but I was not a trade unionist. And then they came for the Jews, but I was not a Jew, so I did little. Then when they came for me, there was no one left to stand up for me. It seems to me that applies to you, even though the poem itself is, 80 years old now.
Yeah.
Because when they come for you, we're all next.
Yeah, exactly. And, and this is one reason why that, especially me personally, I am so big, and I know Day is as well. And I know all the members on our coalition, and I know all the other trans people in the community feel the same way, that this is one reason why we got to build our ally base. Our allies right now are our biggest tool. Once we are not here, they come for me, and there's nobody to stand for me. What's going to happen? I got to fight for myself, or I die. And the chances are you're going to die. So if you have your ally base built and you build that army to fight the war that we're fighting, and we're going to win that war. We're going to build an army strong enough, and we will win. And as far as being the last person, if I'm ever the last person, so be it. I will still fight until I can't fight any longer. I'm a big person that if you see somebody being discriminated against, you see somebody being bullied, harassed, or anything that's not appropriate, please stand up and speak out. Go to somebody and say something. Be that person, be the better person. And you can walk away that night knowing that, hey, I made a difference in somebody's life. I may have saved somebody's life.
I just want to add, if I can, that I think that poem is so powerful, continues to be so powerful in so many ways for so many communities. And it's really important to understand that solidarity is so crucial for us as trans folks to have solidarity with other groups that are also oppressed and marginalized. but also to understand that you don't have to be trans. You don't have to know anyone who's trans to know right from wrong, and to know that you believe in human rights. So anyone who believes in human rights and knows right from wrong should join us on Saturday at Scranton City Hall at 11 a.m. for our rally. If you can't join us, go to bit.ly/educationpa. If you can't do any of those things, try to learn more and get connected to a trans rights struggle in your own community, because that poem says it all. We're all human and we all need to stand together, especially those of us who are facing discrimination, who are facing violence and oppression. And so any of us who have that moral compass that points us to believing in human rights for everyone should stand together.
Okay,
Well,
I'd like to.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing if I could, before I go. Jeff, if you would, you can put my contact information out there. If anybody has any kind of questions, or if anybody wants to discuss anything at any time, please email me. I will not say no. I will not turn my back on you. I will be there. I will provide you the information. If I don't know the information, I will get it for you. This is one thing that, I'm very, very big on. So, please feel free to put my contact out there. And anybody listening, please feel free to contact me at any time.
Well, I want to thank you both for being here. Again, I don't know how much of this that you normally do, but you're certainly treat it like you do these kind of programs all the time. Our program might be a humble little program, but we continue to grow. We have a loyal base. We reach a good number of people, and I think it's extremely important to put a face, at least for Day, to put a voice, because she couldn't be on camera today.
Here we go.
That's right. I told you we're going to pay to put some, to put some humanity, as it were, behind this movement. And again, folks, well, I'll let you guys go, and I'm going to pontificate a bit afterward. But
Okay.
it can happen to you. It can happen to all of us at some point. I mean, let's just be blunt. We just had a video released, folks, 2 days ago, where a Republican member of the House of Representatives in the United States put out a video about killing everyone on the Democratic side. If it can happen to Janelle and Day, it can happen to all of us. Remember what the poem was. They came for all these groups, and we did nothing until there was no one left to help us. This is not, and here's where ladies might disagree, this is not just a trans issue. It's not just an issue of people of color. This is a human issue.
Yep, absolutely.
Folks, I'm not that far removed from it, folks. We're only about a century removed from it. Irish need not apply.
Exactly.
I may not have been alive then, but I'm not. It's my history. This is a human issue. If good, decent human beings like Janelle and Day can be shoved in a corner and be treated under an entirely separate set of circumstances than the rest of us, then it can happen to you too. And that's exactly why what they do is so damn important. Properly bloody important. So Janelle, I want to thank you for being here. I know you have to get to work.
You're welcome.
I'm exceptionally grateful that you were here tonight. I'm very proud to do a special program about something so important. I have bad news for you both, and that is that you're part of the family now. And that we hope, and that we sincerely hope that this will not be the only time that you join us. Janelle, I hope this is not the only time that we see you. Day, I hope there's sometime a first time that we actually see you. But you are part of the Kennedy Effect family now. I say that to every guest that comes along our way. Agree, disagree, love each other, hate each other, because I've had some arguments with some folks on this program, but you are always welcome here. Everyone is always welcome here. And now that you are on our roster of guests, you are a part of the family. Please don't let this be the only time that you come see us. If you have anything else super important that you want to get out there and get to our audience, you let me know, and you are welcome on the program. And I want you to come back. As I said, we'll find a date sometime, but just to come back and tell the rest of the story and tell folks the rest of the story. So Janelle, I know you have to get to work. I hope you have a great night at work. And
Thank you.
I'm deeply appreciative of you being here. I hope to see you again.
You will.
Day, tell everybody again, please, everything about what's happening on Saturday.
Yes, we are going to be meeting at 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. at the Scranton City Hall. And we're going to have a wonderful speakers. We're going to really spread a message of love and inclusion and do some educating. And if you can't make it this Saturday at 11 a.m. in Scranton, to get some updates about our campaign, go to bit.ly/educationpa to get updates about our campaign.
Well, same thing to you, my dear. I deeply hope that this is not the only time that you are able to join us. You are part of the family now. And I am extremely grateful. I learned something tonight. I would like to have thought that I was very well versed on this issue, but just hearing the human voice behind it's kind of what led me to my last question there. Hearing the human voice behind it, the vocal inflection, the emotion, the frustration, the anger, and I think you have a right to feel all of those things. Not that I'm the dispenser of rights here, but I mean, I can certainly understand why you might feel all of those things, and to hear it firsthand, it opens my eyes a lot, and I'm better than I was an hour and a half ago. And for that, I'm very grateful. And I hope that you come back and that you see us again. Very, very much. I hope you come back and see us again.
Yes. Thank you so much for using your platform to lift up this issue. And we'll definitely be back.
And we hope to meet you in person at some point.
Yes, please.
So please be safe. Enjoy Scranton. And Kristen will be seeing you on Saturday. And I hope that I won't be too far behind, that we'll have a chance to meet sometime soon. Please stay safe up there. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye now. That is Janelle and Day. This is an exceptionally important thing. And if you go anywhere on Facebook, or if you just Google the PA Youth Trans Rally, you'll find it, or Trans Youth Rally. I think I mixed up many words there. But I don't know why my phone keeps doing that, because I had silenced it, but it kind of just keeps going. So anyway, and I will be there shortly. I did open the phone line. Is 267-227-9189, 267-227-9189. There we go. I forwarded this, and it is still. I had a feeling you would ring us, Randall. I forwarded this phone, and I turned the damn ringer down, and I got to tell you, it just doesn't want to listen to me. Anyway, Randall, thank you for ringing in. Talk to me, sir.
Yeah, I don't personally know any trans people, but I have known my whole life a big group of friends that are gay and lesbian. Going back to my college years in the early 70s. And it just irritates me that Pennsylvania, because of the Republican-controlled state house and state senate, that we are so far behind our neighboring states around us on guaranteeing employment, housing, etc., for any part of the LGBTQ community.
Randall, do you agree with me? And you do not have to agree with me, by the way, but do you agree with me that this is not really a trans issue or a people of color issue or a gay issue? It's a damn human issue. They don't want anything. They're not asking. Day and Janelle are not asking for anything damn different than you and I have. Just the same thing.
Just the same human rights, and as far as I'm concerned, the same U.S. constitutional rights that every human being in this country should have. Yes.
That's the way I see it. Maybe Randall, maybe I'm oversimplistic. Maybe it's an oversimplistic way of me looking at it, but I just see it as a human thing. They're not asking for billions of dollars that the rest of us can't have. They're not asking to have an entire continent to themselves or to be shot into space, or I'm just saying, and those are silly examples, and I guess I'm trying to be a little silly on purpose. They're not asking for anything. Trans folks are trans family members, and if they're not blood family, they're human family. Our trans family members are not asking for anything different than what white males have always had in this country. They're just simply asking for the same thing. Women are not asking for anything different, but yet they still make less money than men to do the same or sometimes even higher jobs. Folks of color are not asking for anything special or anything above and beyond any of the rest of us have. We basically all want the same things. We'd like to be safe, whether it is in school or out of school, safe at our jobs, safe streets. We'd like to have a decent job, take a holiday every now and then, be able to afford to see a doctor, keep a roof over our heads, be able to feed ourselves, keep a functioning vehicle, or sometimes even two, depending if there's a two working household family. I mean, they're not asking for anything different than you and I have.
I absolutely agree 100%, Jeff.
It just seems so rudimentary to me. Maybe I'm just a simpleton. Yeah.
No.
It just seems so bloody simple.
I'm in a progressive Christian denomination, Presbyterian.
Right.
And I was raised. I was raised from a preschooler that saw. Jesus loves the little children.
Yeah.
All the children of the world, be they yellow, black, or white, they are precious in His sight. Jesus loves the little children of the world, and that includes trans, whatever. Absolutely.
Well, even recently, the Pope himself, when asked about our gay human family members, said, "Who am I to judge?"
Right.
I mean, it's the Pope, and I am not Catholic. I have always, even growing up, I've always looked, and I think a lot of Christians do, to be perfectly honest. We've always looked at the Pope as the head of the Christian church, not just the Catholic Church. I think we've always looked at the Pope as the head of the Christian church.
I have to disagree with the Protestant on that, but I've always respected, especially this Pope.
Right.
I
agree
on how he has spoken up for every type of human rights, poverty,
especially
pollution,
poverty,
etc.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, listen, Randall, we're going to wrap up. We will be back, though, live on Sunday. I hope you will be with us. Show announcements across Facebook coming out very shortly. And also, I will be hosting, playing MC and hosting, as I am doing right now, an Our Revolution special event, online event, Saturday. Sadly, it is exactly the same time as the trans rally. So Kristen is going to the trans rally. I will be live with you on Facebook and across on Zoom and so on with the Our Revolution event. You will be able to see me then. Sunday, our guest is Ty Holmes. Ty is a veteran himself, veteran activist. And since we wanted to, this was a Sunday that was close to Veterans Day, which is tomorrow. We wanted to have a veteran on the air to talk about all things surrounding veterans issues. Some of the same issues that we discussed tonight are affecting veterans. They're being discriminated against. They're not hired at the same rates. They're not paid the same rates. They, even though having the VA and having access to healthcare, they don't take care of themselves at the same rates that the rest of the general population does. So we are going to talk about all of those things with Ty Holmes on Sunday from 5 p.m. So Randall, thanks for being a part of the program. Thanks for being there. Thanks for catching the fact that we were on a special night.
Yeah, I just came out after 7, and it popped up.
See the advantages you get for following and being part of the group? There you go. Just gave me an advertisement there. I appreciate that.
Facebook's the way to go, because since you're a favorite, it pops up, immediately. Hey, something's going on.
Yep. Listen, Facebook has a lot of issues and they have a lot to answer for, but it does still connect us in ways, in very instant ways and very easy ways. And for that, perhaps we shouldn't, it's got a lot of problems. Let's just be blunt, but it does still connect us in very simple, easy and instantaneous ways. And so that's how Randall found out about the program tonight. So thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you on Sunday. All right.
You got it.
All right. You stay safe.
You too.
That I think is going to do it for us, folks. If you are new to the program, again, if you are new to our program and you're wondering on this Wednesday evening, what is this guy talking about and what's he doing? Our regular airtime is Sundays from 5 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. Sunday from 5 p.m. And we will be back with you again on Sunday live. I mentioned early in the program, I think right at the top, that I did do a poll, very informal. I mean, nothing scientific about it whatsoever. I did do a poll on our home group page, That Other Side of Information, asking you if I were to do a second night of the program, a second live show every week, when would you want it to be? And Wednesday was what you picked. And I have to say, the attendance in the room, the comments have been, now I know why you picked Wednesday. Let's put it that way. So perhaps we'll have to be doing this a little bit more. Andrew in the chat, who's with TCP, he and I have talked about doing a Star Trek science fiction-y program. Maybe that'll have to be a Wednesday. Who knows? Maybe we got to break out of Sundays a little bit. But I'm actually looking forward to that. That'll be fun. And we try to do different things here. Politics is heavy. It's real heavy. Gender and racial equality topics are heavy. They can wear on you. They're tough things to slog through. Sometimes you just have to do a fun program and do something a little bit different and try to lighten things up and give us all a deep breath. That's why I did the program with Ryan Shea about talking soccer the whole night, just to do something a bit different, just something a little different and lighten things up a tiny bit. But that is our program for tonight. That is the end of our special episode. Let me again run through everything for you. Wherever you have watched the program tonight live, wherever you might find it on the recording, our home page for the program for all things The Kennedy Effect is called That Other Side of Information. Please enjoy the program anywhere that it's shared. I am so very grateful for every single individual that shares this program, every group that allows us to be part of your group. It means everything to us. Look, this is video and radio. If you weren't watching and listening, we wouldn't have a program. So everywhere that shares our program, the New Deal Democrats, the Progressive Party, the Lehigh Valley Young Democrats, the Progressives and Greens of Massachusetts, the Las Vegas DSA, the Metro DC Medicare for All group, Progressive Democrats of America, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez Progressives. So many great groups. Whoever shares the program, we're grateful. We're very, very very, very grateful. We appreciate you so much. We could not be here if you are not there. Our homepage is That Other Side of Information. We hope that you will come check it out. We hope that you will become a member of our group. Remember, we want to get to 1,000 by the end of the calendar year. Hot101.net for DJ Earl and DJ Lex, who helped me arrange the stream tonight, and for all of my fellow hosts and DJs at Hot101.net. What a wonderful family to be a part of. And I mean that. I really mean that. If you have not checked out Hot101.net other times that we might not be on the air, I beg you to do it because you're going to love it. It's going to become a regular part of your listening. I absolutely guarantee you. Hot101.net is the website. You can get the Apple App Store. You can get the app for Apple at the Apple App Store. You can get the app for Android at the Google Play Store. And if you have an LG phone or a Google Pixel or anything else like that, the TuneIn radio app is the way to go for you. Go to the search bar and search for hot101.net. You can also tell Alexa to play hot101.net. To our friends at TCP, and Andrew was here tonight. So glad that you were here tonight, Andrew. Hope you enjoyed the program. The Cultured Professional, a minority-owned business. And I almost hate saying that because it's just like, it shouldn't matter. It's a human-owned business. And they do a tremendous job. The morning show every single morning. You can find it on our Facebook page. But a growing media outlet. And I'm proud to be part of them as well, and I hope they are happy to have me. I hope so. Or what else? Or what are we doing here? But I'm very proud to be part of TCP, just like Hot 101. So for Andrew, for Taekwon, for Marquise and Whitney and everybody at TCP, very, very grateful to you. To our guests, tremendous courage they continue to show every single day. And again, I know it might be oversimplistic, but I'm not going to stop saying it. This is simply human. This is a human story. These are human rights. These are human equality that they're asking for. Nothing special, nothing different, nothing new, nothing special, not a right that you don't have that they want for themselves. This is not Scrooge McDuck who wants to keep all of his gold in the money bin. They're not asking for any of that. They're simply asking for the same things that the rest of us have. It's really quite simple. So I ask you to support them, and I will have the links. I'll put the link up for the rally on our Facebook page. It's going to be a busy weekend. I'm doing hosting here. Kristen will be in Scranton, and then we come back to you, right back with you again on Sunday with another live program. Let me go through all the social media really quick. Twitter. You can search for That Other Side of Information. You can search for the Kennedy Effect, or our Twitter handle is @ThatKennedyTalk. The email address, thatotherkennedy@gmail.com, because I'm the one that doesn't have any money and I'm the one that's not in office. Thatotherkennedy@gmail.com. Facebook, you already know, That Other Side of Information. YouTube, again, I want to stress the YouTube channel. If you have missed any of tonight's program or any of our programs, go to youtube.com, That Other Side of Information. Subscribe, and you will always know when we post a new program or a new video. Instagram, That Other Side of Information. TikTok, That Other Side of Information. I forgot to do that today. Hey, what a shocker. He forgot TikTok again. And of course, Patreon. Patreon, as you all know, is a place where you can financially subscribe and support the program. And the subscription levels are literally $1, $2, $5, $7. We're not talking big time money here. I know if times are tough, it is a lot of money. I get it. But we're not asking you for 100, 200, 1,000. We're asking literally like $1, $2, $3, $7. I think the highest one is like $7, because 7's a lucky number. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. George will correct me when he comes back on. And every single dime, and I mean every dime, that we collect through Patreon goes back into the program. We do not make any money. I wish I had a fleet of advertisers so I could do live reads. If you want to advertise on this program, you can. If you have a business or a service, or if you are your business and service, if you have a product anywhere on the planet, I will write with you and read your commercial right here, and an entire planet can hear it. And the beauty of it is that it's not just the live read during the program. Our programs live on in recording, and I just read all the social media to you. Your commercial stays right along with it. I hope you'll consider it. You can email us and be a part of the program that way. If you have guest or show suggestions, please get in touch with us. Give us that. We're happy to take them. We'd like to hear from you. It's always been my goal for this program to be interactive. So I'm so blessed that Randall calls every week. It's great. It's great to have a regular call. Well, it's great to have any caller. It's especially nice to have a regular one. I hope you'll follow his lead and start calling the program and become part of it. So that is it for us for now. Let me just say, as I usually do wrap up, be kind to each other. Talk to one another. Let's have conversations. Arguments don't solve anything. Let's talk to each other. Check on your neighbors, especially if you have senior neighbors or ill neighbors. Carry the garbage cans in and out. See if they need something from the grocery. See if they need something from the pharmacy. Just talk, cut their grass, rake the leaves for them, shovel the snow, help each other out. We are a community. We are a United States neighborhood. We are a big neighborhood. We are a community. We are a society. We need to act like it. Janelle and Day would not be suffering some of the things that they do if we just treated each other nicer, if we just treated each other better, if we opened our ears and our eyes, not just our hearts, or actually listened, not just to hear them, but to actually listen to them. And not just to glance at them, but to see them. We can do these things. I continue to believe it. We can do these things. If you're new to the program, our regular time will be Sunday from 5 p.m. And I think, given the amount of interaction, given the amount of people who have been in and out of the room tonight, this is not going to be, I don't think this is going to be our last Wednesday program. I think we're going to have to really think about continuing to do these Wednesday programs, even if they are shorter, maybe just a quick hit hour, just me, whatever it might be, no guest or whatever. We might have to keep this up. We might have to make this a thing. So anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for everyone at TCP. Like I said, Whitney, Marquise, Andrew, Taekwon, I don't know if I'm Sarge, I don't know if I'm missing anybody. Everybody at TCP, for DJ Lex and DJ Earl and all of the DJs at hot101.net, for our associate technical producer, Lynn Dare, for my dear, dear friend of 2 decades and our technical producer, George Dare, for the woman who got this all going and continues to be my sister from a different mister, April Riddick. Of course, for my much better half, Kristen, I am Jeff Kennedy, and we will see you again live on Sunday, the 14th, with our guest, Ty Holmes. Please stay with us. Stay with us on the program. Visit the Facebook page. We will see you on Sunday. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other. Good night.